going to be rolling out a new pathway for drugs, which is a pathway based on a plausible mechanism. If there's a rare condition or a condition that's incurable that affects a small number of people, we may be approving drugs based on a plausible mechanism on sort of a conditional basis.
What does that mean? Put that in normal speak.
Let's say there's a condition that affects 75 people in the world, and there's a new treatment that makes sense physiologically. The mechanism is scientifically plausible that this treatment would help these individuals. No one's forcing these medications on these individuals. If they want to try these new medications, even though we don't have a randomized controlled trial because it's not feasible, we will allow that and at the same time monitor everybody who gets it so that we can make inferences as soon as the data speaks with a signal in the data.
Wow, I like the sound of that. One of the questions I had when you were going over like vaccine, VAERS, which is the vaccine website where you go to upload your negative consequences, people know it from COVID, is aren't those things only as good as the people who monitor them? Because you and I have talked before, we talked throughout COVID with doctors like Vinay Prasad, who's a big fan of yours, about the myocarditis that we were seeing, especially in young teenage boys, as a result of the vaccine, especially the second shot, and then the boosters. And those things were being uploaded to VAERS, but we weren't getting red alert warnings from the FDA. And so this is one of the reasons people don't trust the FDA. Like there's an agenda. They don't want to tell us about this negative side effect because they're much more concerned with forcing us to take the shot.
There's been, look, let's be honest, there's been an epidemic of distrust, and part of it is warranted. And when you don't want to look at complications, the complication rate looks lower than it really is, and it makes products look safer than they really are. And so in the case of VAERS, you have something that could suggest, it's a screening tool, it could suggest that there's an issue, but you have to do a rigorous evaluation. If you don't follow up with a rigorous evaluation, that screening tool is not very useful.
Or if you don't want to know.
Exactly.
So, but aren't the same people all here who didn't want to know when it was your predecessor and it was the Biden administration?
We're going to know. We're going to do intense, comprehensive research. And that's why if we have massive electronic health record data, which we now have through something called the Health Information Exchange, we can have researchers go into there and look at real-world complication rates. So we're not relying on self-reported data from which you can make no inferences about rates. That's just a basic scientific methodologic principle. When you have a couple people saying, hey, I had this or I had this, you can't infer what the rate is. That is the frequency per unit time. But when you have comprehensive data, which we only have now because of cloud storage ability, we couldn't do this 10 years ago. We have now tremendous big data where we can go in there and look at, here's 100,000 people who took this product. Let's follow them in the data, de-identified to protect privacy, and look at how many people came back to the hospital. Not just came back to the hospital with myocarditis coded, but who came into a clinic and said, my chest hurts. That, once you have good methodologic capture of outcomes, now you're looking at real rates.
Will that happen? Because since Kennedy took over, and FDA is under Kennedy at HHS, people should know. When he took over, a guy named Peter Marks, who was here, it's FDA's former top vaccine regulator, well, he was forced out, reportedly, that you approved it, and then Kennedy said, okay, good, I'm fine, get rid of him. And in his resignation letters, his forced resignation, reportedly, he said, it's become clear that truth and transparency are not desired by the secretary, but rather he wishes subservient confirmation of his misinformation and lies. He accused Secretary Kennedy of undermining confidence in well-established vaccines, and then he accused Secretary Kennedy of wanting to access and directly edit VAERS, which the FDA oversees, saying, we don't trust them. He used an expletive. They would write over the data or erase the whole database. So I don't know what he's suggesting here, that Secretary Kennedy would go into VAERS. It seems to me it'd be more like the people who are pushing the vaccines on us who would go into the VAERS database and erase things. But you tell me whether Secretary Kennedy and you should have access to VAERS and actually start figuring out whether, I mean, there's still parents who are getting their teenage boys the third, the fourth shot of the COVID vax, not knowing about the myocarditis. Yeah,
I mean, if you follow the guidelines as they've been written to to the exact letter, a 12-year-old healthy, thin girl should be on her 8th COVID vaccine mRNA booster shot. And so Secretary Kennedy has called for gold standard science. And I can tell you, and Dr. Bhattacharya will tell you the same thing at the NIH, is he has posed questions, but he is not engaging in the details of how rigorous scientific methodology should be conducted. He's posing questions, as is most of America right now. Again, I don't think VAERS is a good database because it is self-reported and not rates. On Peter Marks, I can tell you that I never knew the guy, I never met him. He resigned before I came to office. Some people liked some of the things he did, and some people had concerns with some of the things he did. One of the biggest concerns, of course, was that he pushed out the 2 top scientific vaccine experts here at the FDA. And this all came out in a House Judiciary hearing last summer. The 2 top vaccine experts at the FDA were pushed out by Peter Marks. It's not an opinion, it's in the congressional hearing.
And as I recall, they were objecting to certain things that seemed arbitrary, like mandates for children, vaccines for 6-year-olds, that kind of thing.
Exactly. They had concerns, according to their testimony, they had concerns over the COVID mRNA booster repeat strategy as a mandate in children. And as you know, some people have said it makes no sense. We don't have good data on the risk-benefit profile. The 2 top vaccine career scientists at the FDA, Dr. Gruber and Dr. Krause, the director and deputy director of the Vaccine Research Center here at the FDA, were forced out by Dr. Marks. So, you know, sometimes you have to block out some of the noise where now he's taking a different view. I never met the guy, but those are the different ideas people have on Peter. There's a lot of talented people who can do that job well. A lot of very smart people who are right now who are applying for that job.
You've heard about tariffs recently, plus inflation, supply chain disruptions. It's a lot, but there is a silver lining that most people missed. President Trump specifically exempted gold and silver bullion from the tariff talk. The administration preserved the ability to diversify into precious metals. If you are concerned about your savings, consider a free consultation with a Birch Gold precious metals specialist. The first step is to text MK to 989898 and receive your free no-obligation info kit on gold. Learn how to hold gold and silver in a tax-sheltered account. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a gold IRA for no money out of pocket. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of thankful customers, consider texting MK to 989898. Again, text MK to 989898 to claim your free info kit right now. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.